Anyway, how you doing? Still eating a lot of chocolate after Easter?
A sugar-induced coma last night, absolute certain. But I'm good, mate. I'm good. Back training today, and yeah, nice to have a break, mate. What about you?
Yeah, I had a pretty healthy breakfast this morning, but then I had a packet of mini eggs afterwards, so sort of ruined it once again.
Well, it's Easter Monday, man. So you've got to make the most of it. Back to normal tomorrow, man. That's my plan anyway.
Think about Easter egg for all my lunches next week, like.
No weight cutting at this time of year. Absolutely not.
Nah. One of the big questions I wanted to ask you was obviously in regards to the Atlantic rowing. Why did you decide on the row of all the challenges you could have done?
Well, because I've got absolutely no experience in it, Joe. So I wanted to pick something that could generate the most amount of interest, the most amount of sponsorship and funds for the cause, for the charity. So there was no way I was going to be raising 50, 70,000 quid by doing the marathon or whatever. So it had to be something that captured people's imagination, that people kind of went, whoa, what? You're going, what? You rode across an ocean. And also something that I had absolutely no experience in. So I didn't want it to be something that I was good at. I wanted it to be something that I wasn't good at, and kind of push me like to my absolute limits. And also something that wasn't going to be achievable within 6 months or a year. It had to be a project that was going to last for a couple of years, and test pretty much every facet of my being, really. You know, my planning, my preparation, physical, mental, and everything in between, mate. So that's why.
Yeah, you seem like got a lot of experience of it, but because if you passed in the Royal Marines, do you have any experience navigating, or is that something you've had to learn a lot of?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm a good navigator, mate. You take me to the mountains where the ground stands still and I can navigate around the mountains, no problem. But the problem when you navigate in the sea is that the tide's moving, right? So the floor is moving. It's like you're on a travelator, right? So, you know, it's completely different. And then wind as well will affect you. So, interestingly, you don't need to have that much. You need to do some qualifications before you go, but you don't need that much because the route actually picks up the trade winds. The easterly trade wind, so you tend to just row due west from kind of the coast of Africa over to Antigua. So provided you're rowing like 270 degrees heading west, you should be pretty good.
Yeah. Say about qualifications. What sort of qualifications do you need? Like,
so you need to have a.
I remember any GCSEs based on Atlantic rowing. Like,
no, it's not GCSEs, man. A lot of kind of RYA stuff, Royal and Association stuff. So you need to have done 120 hours qualifying rowing at sea. 24 hours of that's got to be at night. This is just to start the race, right? You've got to have done a kind of essential navigation. I'm actually going to qualify up to Yachtmaster theory just because I want to be mentally prepared for it. I don't need any of that information, but just in my head, then I'll know that I'm all over it. You've got to have a shortwave radio course and certification. You've got to have done your sea survival, which I've done before a couple of times. You've got to do an ocean rowing course. There's loads of stuff, man, that you've got to do. Just, in fact, and that's the hardest thing. You know, it's a bit of a cliche, but people say the hardest thing about rowing an ocean is getting to the start line. It's not, no shit. It's a long 2+ year project, working pretty much on a daily basis, trying to put it together. Fundraising, qualifying, training, like it's so all encompassing. It's like a 20-hour-a-week job, really.
Is that a lot of the stuff you spend your time doing now then that a lot of people don't realise, do you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if people really understood what it took to do this, then listen, there's more people been to the moon that have rowed an ocean solo, right? Like, that's legit. There's a reason for that. I mean, you can row an ocean, of course, in a team of 4, or there's a team of 12 doing it in a minute. But then you split the campaign down by that many numbers. So, I've got to raise, to make this happen, I've got to raise about 70,000 quid. If I was in a team of 4, then of course I've only got to raise, 17, 18,000, whatever that is. So I've got to raise the whole amount on my own. I've got to plan, prepare it all on my own. And that's why it becomes such a really challenging thing to do solo. Not to mention the fact you've got to row the bloody thing 3,000 miles, right?
Yeah. How long do you think you'll be at sea for?
It's all dependent on the weather, really. I would say anywhere between 50 and 90 days, but I think most probably I'd like to think I'd be in, well, I'm aiming to come under 50 days. So anywhere between 45 and 60, I think would be a good number, but it all depends. Like, you know, I could hit a storm, I could hit some bad winds or a bad capsize or something like that, and it could put me back a week, you know, easy. So yeah, just got to do all the prep you can and then cross your fingers, really. Could be eaten by a shark, man. Might never come back. You know?
A pretty good way to go that, like, wouldn't it?
Do you think? I don't know. I'd like to live through it. I mean, hopefully.
Well,
hopefully
yeah, I mean, we'll hoping you live through it, like.
yeah, exactly that, yeah.
Now, one of the things, saying about the weather conditions, one of the things I was going to ask you was, how do you plan on dealing with different weather conditions like storms and things like that?
I mean, there's certain things you need to do with the boat, right? So, you know, you can't just, well, if you don't do anything, you're going to drift. So you're going to drift with the wind's going to pick you up, it's going to just drift you off. So, you know, you could be rowing, you could row 100 miles west, get hit by some westerly or northerly winds and get pushed 50, 100 miles to the south. So you can deploy things like a para anchor, which is like a big parachute, which goes under the water, turns your bow into the front of the boat into the wind, and then kind of stops your progress. So you need to be like, you need to know how to do all that kind of good stuff. And you're pretty much battening down the hatches and you're in the cabin, which is not a cabin as you probably imagine on a normal boat. It's like a coffin. You know, you're laid kind of underneath the deck of the boat. With not a lot of room to move. And just in there for the long it takes.
I saw a picture of the, is it the Pegasus it's called, recently on your Instagram. Is there something you pull over that, like a cover you pull over it, or for the cabin, like you say?
No, there's no covers, mate. That's an open deck. That is it. Yeah. That is it. But at each end, there's where it kind of tails off. There's a kind of rounds over. That each one's a cabin, which I can just about lay. Like if I put my head right on the stern or the bow of the boat, well, not on the stern cabin, the bow, but if I put my head on the very front of the bow inside, I could just about get laid straight. But it'd be literally around my head like this, like a coffin, like there. If I'm in the stern cabin, which is the back of the boat, with all the kind of electronics and navigation equipment and stuff like that, and radio, my legs actually go underneath the deck because the cabin's only like this long. So you're actually laying underneath the deck that you're rowing on, like right into the water, basically under the water. So it's pretty tight. So if you're claustrophobic in the middle of a storm, getting thrown about on 30, 40-foot waves, it's not a place for you, really.
No.
I've yet to experience that, so I don't really know what it's going to be like. I'm just hoping that I can handle it.
Is sleep deprivation something you're planning for?
Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, I'm going to be rowing between 12 and 18 hours a day every day, napping, really, probably sleeping anywhere between half an hour, 20 minutes to maybe maximum 2 hours.
Yeah.
If I can actually get some deep sleep. So, yeah, I mean, that is one of the major hardships, really. Not to mention the physical thing is doing it while you're absolutely broken. I've just recently done a 24-hour row at sea. We did 2 hours on, 2 hours off for 24 hours. And it's tricky, you know. But I mean, I have done stuff like that before in the military and that. Never get used to it. It's always a pretty horrible experience. Have you done any stuff like that? Not slept for a while?
Not at all. I mean,
it's not.
I don't think nights out in Newcastle count for stuff like that.
Yeah, but then you sleep it off the day after. So that's the tricky thing, isn't it? Is, you know, anyone can do probably a 24-hour, 48-hour thing. But doing that every day for 50, 60 days, that's the challenge.
Yeah.
You know,
obviously with that work rate as well.
Yeah, with rowing like 12, 15, 18 hours a day, whatever. So, you know, it's getting up for your shifts, right? Like in the middle of the night when you've set your alarm to get up after, and you've only just fallen asleep, and you're like, no way, I've just literally had an hour. I've got to get back on the oars for another 2 hours.
Yeah.
So it's having that strength of mind to be able to pull yourself out of the cabin when it's chucking it down. Like I say, you're on 30, 40-foot waves as high as your house, you know, dark, can't see anything, you're scared, and you've got to get on there and row again, you know.
Yeah. More like short bursts of sleep, like you said, instead of just sort of taking 8 hours sleep and then getting back at it again. I thought that's what
I mean, as a soloist, you can kind of, in teams tend to do like 2 hours on, 2 hours off. Because they want to like have the boat being rowed continuously, but as a soloist, you've got complete control. So I think for me, I plan to get some kind of REM sleep. So trying to get like maybe a 3-hour sleep would be ideal. So I'm going to try and plan around that, which will mean, and I'd like to do that at night because that's when my body will want to sleep because of the kind of darkness. So I plan to probably row with limited rest in the day, and then try and get some kind of REM sleep at night. That's the initial plan. Could all go out the window. Depends what you like. You know what I mean? The first week's meant to be absolutely horrendous because you're seasick, you're sleep deprived, you're hungry, you can't get your food down. It's choppy water off the coast there. So I think I'll get through the first week. I'm going to obviously try and win the race, so I'm going to be going for it, and then we'll see what happens.
Do you think you adjust to it after the first week then?
7 to 10 days, yeah. I think your body just acclimatizes to it, and you know the body and the mind are an amazing thing, aren't they? They'll just adapt to whatever stimulus you place it under. So it'll just be like, right, fine, you need to row 15 hours a day, no problem. Let's row 15 hours a day.
Yeah.
I think you've got to then. It's down to that the preparation you've done and the mindset that you're able to harness. If you haven't prepared well, and all those things start to affect you, I think you could very quickly fall down a slippery slope. Well, I know you could. So it's about preparing properly, physically, to ensure that mentally you're in the best place possible.
Yeah. You mentioned they're doing a 24-hour row the other day. Where was that at? That was out on open water. Yeah,
out in the North Sea, yeah. So I was invited by a team who are doing the Pacific race this year, a team of 4. Really, really experienced ocean rowers. One of them's done the Indian Ocean, done the Atlantic 3 times, rowed around Great Britain. One of the other teams, my ocean rowing coach. So yeah, they asked me to come and help out, like be the 4th man. And we just rowed out into the North Sea, 86 nautical miles over 24 hours. Pretty crap conditions as well. A lot of like wind over tide. So the wind was coming across the boat and we were rowing with the tide. So it creates a lot of choppy water. So the boat's never still, you know, you're constantly moving around. And it's pretty hard to row in those conditions. And never mind trying to sleep or eat them. But I wasn't sick, so that was one good thing.
Yeah. You had a lot of experience out on open water, yeah? Or was that your sort of first time?
Well, I mean, we sailed out to Afghanistan when I went out to Afghanistan in 2002, chasing the Taliban around there. So we went out in HMS Ocean, but obviously that's a warship, like the biggest ship the Navy had at the time. So I think it's been decommissioned now, but it was huge. So an amphibious warship, so it was massive. But even that was moving like, you know, you'd see the sky, no sea, then you'd just see sea. And I remember on the way to Afghan, they let us off for like a swim in the middle of the Gulf because we were waiting for Tony Blair to kind of press the button. And I didn't go out because I was like, man, I don't want to go out in water that's 5K deep or whatever with sharks and stuff. Because they had snipers on the roof of the ship, like looking for sharks. So I didn't. I did some on the job. And I'm not massively comfortable in open water, deep open water. So that's another part of why I wanted to do it, to kind of really get over that irrational fear, to be honest.
Yeah. Is there a lot you take from, there must be a lot you take from your like time with the military and stuff that you can apply to this, like your mindset and things like that?
I think so. I think anyone who was a Royal Marine or whatever has pushed themselves pretty hard in training. You know, it's not an easy course. It's known to be one of the hardest basic military courses in the world, right? So it's 8 months long. I was actually there for nearly a year because foot and mouth was going on at the time and training was delayed. I also got injured in training. So yeah, I think there's a lot of lessons you can learn there. It creates a certain kind of resilience within you. And then other experiences, my job after that, and then jiu-jitsu and everything else, really, I think does make you a resilient and confident person. And the thing is, like, you know, there's other challenges I've done, and when you get used to setting big goals and achieving them, Joe, like the goals just get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
You're able to set longer term, more challenging, some may say remarkable kind of goals, and set out and achieve them because you've got that inner confidence that what you're capable of, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're going to smash it, mate.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the largest collection of, so it's the Talisker Whiskey Atlantic Challenge I'm doing, which is an organised race. The reason I'm doing it as an organised race, one, it's going to help me get sponsorship because they get better press coverage. And 2, there is a safety yacht in the Atlantic. There's only one to cater for the whole fleet. So I'll only ever see it once. I won't see anyone else for the whole 50 days, 60 days. Some people think, oh, you know, you've got a boat following you and that. No, like it's unsupported, so there's no one helping you out. But if the worst case happened, like the boat sank or something, hopefully that support yacht will be with me in like a week or something. So I'd only be swimming, I'd only be treading water for a week. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I was going to say there's 10 solo boats in the race. There's 32 boats. It's the largest collection of solo rowers in one fleet. So I am going to try and win it because that's just what, you know, how I'm wired. Unfortunately, the boat I've got, it's a beautiful boat, as you've seen, but it's not the lightest boat. There is a lighter boat out there, but I just can't afford it. Only people who are kind of funding it themselves can afford it because it's like a 70 grand boat. So I'm handicapped a little bit by the weight of the boat, but I'm going to just row longer and just beat them with sheer determination.
How does the weight of the boat affect the performance? Like,
yeah, well, I mean, it's like, it was described to me by a guy who owns Rannoch Adventure, who builds all the boats, that if you imagine putting a ping pong ball and a tennis ball in a bath and like putting a hairdryer behind them, which one would blow fastest, the lightest one's always going to go faster. And also it's a strength to rate ratio thing, right? Like if you've got to row the thing across. So if you're taking tins of beans to eat and heavy items, right, and all the creature comforts and everything you want, you've got to row all that shit across. So it becomes a strength to weight ratio, power to weight ratio thing. So I am going to trim the boat down as much as possible. And now, you know, what's exciting me about Pegasus is because she isn't the lightest boat. It is a real challenge now to try and find the lightest possible kit, really trim it down, and to try and beat the lighter boats at their own game. You know, that's my challenge now, really. That's how I'm approaching it. It's like, okay, you want to build a lighter boat? I'll just fucking row longer than you. You know, I'll just trim my boat down and just row when you're asleep. That's the way I'm approaching it. So it's given me like another angle to really dial into. And I think, again, you've got to find all these kind of mini motivations, you know, when you're out there, to try and keep yourself going, and knowing that potentially I could be competitive against a known faster boat or even beat them is going to be something that will definitely help me row harder for sure.
It sounds like that excites you a lot, motivates you a lot, proving you better than other people. I think that is something that motivates you.
Yeah, it's a bit of a, I don't know if I should swear on here, but
I'll go for it if you
I've always, it's a bit of a twattiest thing to do, isn't it? I've always been a very competitive person, you know. I always enjoy, this sounds awful, not beating other people, proving that I'm more capable than others. And I'm happy to do that. I'm happy to put myself at risk, and happy to show that I'm happy to lose, but I'm all, you know, but I'm going to fight harder than anyone else. I've done that throughout my whole career.
I don't think there's out wrong with loving competition. Like,
I don't think so, man. I mean, you know, it depends what you want your life to be. Like, what do you want your legacy to be? You know, previous work I've done, I've achieved things no one else has ever achieved, and that's because I've always put my head above the parapet and said, right, I'll do that, even when the chances of you being successful are low. I just feel like that just pulls me even harder, right, to want to prove everyone wrong. So, yeah, I think it's a good thing. Who wants to live a life that's safe? Not me. You're only here once. Push it, man. Push it. See what you're capable of. And you're writing your own obituary every day, aren't you? You know what I mean? What people are going to say about you. So you're going to have to live. You know, what do you want to be known as? What's your legacy? Is the question I would ask people. You know.
Yeah.
You know, do you want to live life, or do you want life just to pass you by? What you're doing here?
Yeah.
You've got to make your mark.
Yeah. You see, a lot of your training that you post on your Instagram and stuff. You see that you do like a lot of. It might surprise people that you do a lot of strength training as well, like a lot of squats and like deadlifts and things like that. What's your sort of theory behind that then? Because maybe you think people would expect you to do just rowing like 24 hours in preparation. What's the theory behind that strength training?
Well, I mean, I took on a kind of a performance coach who was also sponsored by Castor Sportswear, a guy called Paul Kelleher. He's been up Everest, but he's summited Everest, knows what he's doing. And I wanted to take on a professional coach. Like I've trained for 20 years, so I think I know what I'm doing. But he basically said to me, look, we're not training for the conditions of the event you're doing, right? You can only ever train to row an ocean rowing boat on an ocean, in an ocean rowing boat. So there's no point trying to replicate those conditions in the gym. What we need to do is make you as well-rounded and as broad and have as wide a like possible base of skill as possible, right? So we do everything, like every session's got kind of like trigger point work, mobility work, bodyweight movement work, plyometrics, strength-based work. We run like our ESD, like our energy system development, through the full range of anaerobic. So this week, for instance, you know, I've been lifting heavy compound stuff, bodyweight movement. I've been doing like max effort 30-second sprints on the erg. I'm going to be doing 4 30-minute sets on Thursdays. That's 2-hour row. So I am doing rowing, but mainly just to condition the hips and the hands and stuff like that. You know, hands are taking absolute battering.
Yeah.
But that's just, you know, just to condition and callous the body, really.
Yeah. I remember like somewhat similar, like Ross Edgley, who, you know, somewhere around the UK, just talked about making himself as robust as possible. I think he said like coming up to it sounds similar to that.
That's it, man. Yeah, no, he talks a lot of sense. You know, I've got a lot of time for him. I'm not sure where he gets his physique from, but yeah, he talks a lot of sense. Yeah, exactly. It's about just making yourself. And there's another geezer who I get his name, but he's got a thing called Ender 3 Fitness out in the States, and he's got a term which he calls like just harder to kill. You know, that's the way I see it. Like, you know, just make yourself. You know, you should be able to be well-rounded enough. Like if a car ran over your kid, you should be able to pick it up. You know, if someone broke into your house and ran off with your kid, you should be able to chase them and catch them. You know, over a short distance, over a long distance.
Yeah.
You should be able to fight. You should be able to move your body weight over a fence. You know, like you should be able to do all those things as a human. I think you should be well-rounded. If you specialize too much, then you're limiting yourself too, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And also, like at my age, mate, you know, you've got to be healthy. You know, and I'm 40 now, right? So you've got to be looking at health holistically. I was chatting to a friend of mine who runs a CrossFit. Well, he was an old CrossFit gym. It's rebranded now as Elios, another former Marine, guy called Matt Robbo, lovely bloke. And he's now kind of pushing hard, and he's absolutely on the money. This idea that health is a really broad, holistic thing. It's not big biceps. It's not squatting 300 kilos. It's not deadlifting 5, whatever. It's about like just moving well, being able to train often, being able to train across lots of planes of movement, different weight protocols. You know, it's about doing the whole thing, man. That's what health is to me now.
Yeah, I think obviously I've not been to a lot of jiu-jitsu, but something I realized when I first started was how unflexible I am, how bad my mobility is. That sort of different areas of fitness you don't really think about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Yeah, mobility is huge, right? I mean, if you can't move in like full range of motion, or your hip, you know, your joints aren't moving, because flexibility and mobility are two different things, right? You know, you want to have mobility in your joint capsules, absolutely, and flexibility kind of in end range is key. So having that strength in end range is absolutely massive. We've been doing a lot of work with our students here over lockdown. In fact, we're doing our last online movement class tonight, which is just a 60-minute jiu-jitsu movement class where we do dial in a lot of kind of mobility work and jiu-jitsu movement. I think it's often overlooked in academies, and we just go for the submissions or we go for the fancy techniques. Can't access them unless you've got good movement, particularly around your hips. So you've got to invest time in becoming mobile to be able to access the things you want to access.
Yeah. When was it last year you started your jiu-jitsu gym in Leeds?
Well, we got the keys, I think it was about August last year. And at that point, I wasn't even sure how I was going to do it because I was still working for the MOD. So, but they couldn't support the row, or they refused to support the row. And so I had a decision to make. So I decided to kind of pop smoke and leave. And then myself and, you know, a guy called Tiernan, he's a blue belt coach here, does all our online stuff. So he helped me, and we built this gym basically from the ground, starting it now, from the ground up, man. And it's we're really proud of it. It's a flagship academy now. You know, it's unbelievable that this space it has things that no other JiuJitsu Academy has in terms of facilities. I'm sat now in like the cafe, right?
Yeah.
like a full-on like coffee space, you know, great to hang out. And yeah, and we were due to open on the 9th of January, and then Bosnia locked us down again. So we adapted and we started doing online training, and then we're due to open up on Monday. We're very excited. We've just hit 100 members as well. So we've grown in lockdown by 25%, which is unreal in lockdown.
Yeah.
So
tell me another start on it.
Tell me another business that's grown their membership by 25% in lockdown. Yeah. So we're clearly doing something right. We talked today in our meeting about social proof. I think that is the social proof that, you know, what we're doing is resonating with people. And we're just here to make people's lives better. Proof? Sorry. Well, you know, the community, the social demographic telling you what you're doing is right by signing up. Yeah. Because, you know, we could talk a good game and we could say, oh, we're the best academy in Leeds, or the best academy in the UK, or, you know, you want to train here because we're the best. But, you know, the proof in the pudding is whether people do sign up. So the social proof is the fact that we've grown 25% in lockdown, when everyone else is shrinking. And I think there's a lot of reasons for that. But the main one, I think, is just that all we're promoting is like just being good to people, supporting people. We've done work for food banks over lockdown. We've held a lot of membership pricing over lockdown to help people. We're very flexible. We're very people first. We're kind of, you know, we're not a fighters gym, man. We're a community of great people who fight. Like, that's what we do. So it's working.
Have you had any teaching roles before? Has it all been a new experience to you, this?
Oh no, I've taught for a long time, man. Like I instructed.
At Harrogate, sorry, haven't you? Yeah.
Oh, in jiu-jitsu, you mean?
In life and in everything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been teaching like jiu-jitsu, coaching properly since brown belt. I used to teach the fundamentals at the original Gracie Barra Leeds back in the day before it became Senshin and all that kind of malarkey. So I did teach then, and then I was teaching for Lewis, a good friend of mine, one of my best mates over in Harrogate, as a black belt. But I wasn't really doing anything for myself, my jiu-jitsu. I was just helping him to grow his business, which I wanted to do. But professionally, you know, I was promoted early in the Marines, so I was commanding men and I was teaching them, coaching them. And then in my old job in the MOD, I taught special forces, covert tactics, and that's what I did. So I've always instructed, and I really enjoy it. I enjoy seeing people's progress, and there's a saying, you teach once and you learn twice, so I think it makes you a better person teaching.
Yeah. I know you're really busy, so I won't hold you for ages, but do you want to tell us a bit about the charity you're doing the road for?
Yeah, sure. So I'm trying to raise a tangible amount of money for Leeds Hospitals charity. That used to be called Leeds Cares. So they, I didn't realise until my youngest son was really poorly. So he was born at 30 weeks. So it was £3 see-through. We managed to get him out by an emergency cesarean. He was breached as well. So he was on a ventilator for a few days. Then he was in special care. He was in the intensive care unit. Then he was in special care. Got him home. Then, thanks to my wife's mother's instincts, because I just thought he was sleeping a lot, but she knew he was ill. He got meningitis. She took him back in, and they said if you hadn't brought him in today, he'd have died tomorrow, right? And they saved him quite a few times. But I didn't realise at the time that a lot of the specialist equipment, I presumed, was purchased by the NHS, like pay taxes. That's what I thought the NHS did. But it doesn't. The NHS pays for the doctors and the nurses. Yeah. The hospitals does not pay for specialist incubators. It does not pay for specialist kits, specialist wards. The charity does that. So I want to pay back that kind of debt of gratitude to those people and that unit by raising an amount of money which can do something tangible.
Yeah.
And that's what
charity called. Sorry, is it Leeds?
Leeds Hospitals charity, yeah. But what I'm asking everyone to do, if they want to support me, is to either, just go to the Atlantic Grappler.com, right? Or you can go to the Atlantic Grappler on Instagram. Yeah. There's a link tree there in my bio. You can check all the information on the website. There's a GoFundMe page if you just want to donate £5 or 500 quid, you can do that there. And then, of course, I'm really keen to speak to corporate sponsors. So I've got some amazing people and businesses behind me already who've enabled me to purchase Pegasus early, so I can get lots of training in. But I have no loose kit, so I need to spend another 10 grand getting the loose kit. And ocean rowing is an expensive business, man.
Yeah.
So I need help. It's
You mean
it's
like
a
the
solo
supplies for
road.
the row, like food and you mean like supplies for the row,
Yeah.
food and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, 90 days worth of food. It's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's dehydrated meals, right? So yeah, so I mean, it's a solo road, but it's very much a team effort. And of course, anyone who helps me out, I'm happy to pay them back, in my time, brand placement, promotion, time with their business, time with their staff, motivational speaking, whatever you want. I'm happy to help people out.
Yeah. One last thing, what do you think one of the biggest challenges for the row that you think maybe a lot of people don't realize or just don't even consider, whether that's in preparation or the row itself?
The hardest thing, without a doubt, I mean, everyone asks me, oh, how's the training going? How's your training going? Because quite rightly, they presume 3,000 miles of rowing in storms and in the middle of the ocean is a hard thing. It is a hard thing, but the hardest thing, without a doubt, is raising the funds to be able to do it. The sponsorship is so tough. It's a relentless, often demoralizing kind of pursuit to try and just pull in 100 quid. So on top of writing to sponsors, which I must have written 50, 100 sponsorship letters, maybe more, plus Instagram messages, plus WhatsApps, plus kind of pieces to camera, a daily Instagram feeds of all my training to try and maintain the momentum of the campaign. I'm doing a 48-hour row during the ITU triathlon in Leeds, trying to raise some money. I'm doing another 24-hour row in the Leeds, in the hospital. I'm doing 12 marathons in 12 days at Christmas. I'm calling the 12 rows of Christmas. Like, just trying to do so much. And that's what's hard, man. It's maintaining the momentum. It's getting up at 6 in the morning when no one's watching and it's freezing, like I did this morning, to go and train, because I've just got to be ready,
Yeah. Just follow you on Instagram and I see you grafting every single day, like.
Yeah, man. I mean, but what's the alternative? That's another thing I tell people, like, what's the alternative, man? If you don't do it, you ain't going to achieve it, because, it's a hard thing. Not many people have done it. Not many people can do it. So you've got to really practice what you preach. And I kind of say, again, these are all just terms I'm coining, man. Like, practice, like I think I put today, like, practice like you want to play. Say that to my son a lot, who plays football. He's got trials for Leeds United this week. And I'm like, dude, you got to practice like you want to play. Every session counts. So for me in the gym, every session counts. That's why I do stuff like this. I'm happy to talk about it, because one person might listen to this, Joe, and they might be my next big sponsor.
Yeah.
So you never know, man. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming on, man. I think you're going to smash it. I'm looking forward to it. Like,
thanks, brother. And listen, you're always welcome to come train with us. Now, you remember at GB Harrogate.
Yeah.
Great hands down there. And Lewis is an amazing guy.
Yeah.
But look, anytime you want to train, just come see us. Great spot around here. You're welcome anytime.
Appreciate that, man. Best of luck to you.
All right, brother. Thank you. Take care.
You too.